Efforts to advance one-man, one-woman marriage see success in a key congressional race and in one southern state where the issue moves to the ballot for a vote next year. This is the CitizenLink report. I'm Carrie Gordon-Earl, sitting in for Stuart Shepard, joined by CitizenLink Executive Director Tom Menery. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome, Carrie. Nice to be with you again.
You know, there have been a couple of key victories, successes on the issue of marriage recently. We saw that in New York with a key congressional race election, and also in North Carolina, where the issue of marriage is moving to the ballot. Let's start with New York and talk a little bit about that race. This was the 9th congressional race where you saw a Republican take a seat that has been long held by Democrats there. Yeah. How did marriage play into that victory?
That was a stunning victory for the conservative, the Republican, Bob Turner, who won by 53% of the vote, against the Democrat member of the state legislature, David Weprin, who received 47% of the vote. An identifiable voting group in that district were Orthodox Jews. Now, David Weprin, the loser, the Democrat, is an Orthodox Jew. Orthodox Jews in the 9th district comprise about 13% of the vote, but they voted 91% in favor of the guy who's not an Orthodox Jew, Bob Turner. Now, why did they do that? Surprisingly, it was David Weprin's vote for same-sex marriage in the state legislature that was very repugnant to Orthodox Jews in the 9th congressional district. In fact, let me read something from the Village Voice, not known to be a conservative publication. The Village Voice in New York said, despite the economy, which was the overriding issue, the New York 9 election has somewhat surprisingly shaped up instead as a referendum on same-sex marriage. And there were a number of New York City Democrats who said, yes, in that particular district, same-sex marriage was a big, big issue. And overall, though, it was the economy. A lot of people in that district are non-Jews. In Queens, the Jews are mostly in Brooklyn. In Queens, there are a lot of middle-class and lower-middle-class white voters. And Charles Schumer, the Democrat senator from New York, used to represent that district when he was in the House. He's been trying to win those people to the Democratic Party. Now, Charles Schumer, as a Democrat leader in the House, was in favor of Obamacare, in favor of the stimulus, in favor of the bailouts. And it is just these issues that were repudiated when the people went to the polls to cast their vote. So it was a stunning and a stinging defeat for the President Obama policies, and also for the fact that these people do not like same-sex marriage.
So we are still seeing marriage being a key factor in races. We'll see that going into 2012. North Carolina, a little south of there, there was an opportunity after about 10 years of trying. Pro-family advocates were able to get a marriage amendment on the ballot to define marriage as one man and one woman. How important was that step?
Well, this victory in North Carolina was very welcome. It signals that marriage is still a lively issue. Now, this will be on the ballot next May for the people of North Carolina to finally decide about. And without question, I believe they'll vote overwhelmingly in favor of the traditional definition of marriage. But as a result of the conservative gains in the 2010 elections, seats changed in the legislature, making passage of a marriage amendment finally possible, and the conservatizing effect of that 2010 election was felt in the North Carolina legislature, and that's why the victory was able to be won. We were involved in that happily and participated to the extent we could, and we're glad to see that outcome.
That's going to be an important race in 2012. You know, Tom, the economy is going to also continue to be a major issue. You mentioned that in New York's 9th congressional election. The president has unveiled a deficit reduction plan to try to demonstrate to the country where he wants to take us in the next 2 years, going into 12 as well. What did you think about the proposal?
Well, it's more of the same. The president unveiled that in the early part of this week, and what he said essentially was, we've got to make the wealthy pay their fair share. I'm waiting for the first reporter to ask the president, what is the fair share? How much do you want from wealthy people? And let me talk about that for a moment. Suppose the president said, what I want to do is take every dollar of income made by millionaires and billionaires, because that's who he talks about, millionaires and billionaires. If the president were able to confiscate every single dollar of income, he wouldn't get very much. Now, you'll recall that just earlier, at the end of July, first part of August, there was a big agreement to raise the debt ceiling by $2.1 trillion. Now, if the president was able to confiscate every dollar by every millionaire and every billionaire, he would get less than half of that. So if he took all of their money, he wouldn't be able to pay for 1/2 of the amount by which the debt ceiling was raised. Now, they raised $2.1 trillion in the debt ceiling, raising it to about $16 trillion. That's how much more we are spending beyond what we're taking in. It's incredibly large. Less than $1 trillion is all of the money from every millionaire and every billionaire. Now, the question of who pays what fair share. There's a chart in the Wall Street Journal that was very helpful, and you'll see it on the screen right here. If you'll trace that chart with me right up the line, you'll see, let's start right about in the middle of the chart. Those who earn between $100,000 and $200,000 pay 12.7% of their money in federal taxes. Those earning between $200,000 and $500,000 pay 19.6% of their income in federal taxes. Those making between $500,000 and $1 million pay 24.1%. So now we're getting up into those millionaires and billionaires. Those making over $1 million and up pay 23.3%. So it looks like it's pretty much a gradation. The more income you make, the more you pay in taxes. But it does not tell the whole story, because a lot of rich people get income differently than you and I, who depend on paychecks. A lot of rich people are business owners who take business profits. That's called capital gains income. Now, when capital gains is made, that is to say when business profits and those profits are reported to the federal government, that profit is taxed at 35%. So that money is taxed heavily already. And then when people take that into their personal income, they report it again, and they pay an extra 15% on those capital gains stock dividends. Now, I'm drastically simplifying this, but I just want to paint the overall picture that income by those millionaires and billionaires does not come from paychecks. It comes from corporate profits that is already taxed once and then taxed again when the income is taken into their personal budget. So it's not a full picture at all that the president is painting, I'm afraid.
And for folks who pay taxes, there are some tax cuts that will be kept by some and lost by others. So we have to continue to keep an eye on what the proposals are.
We do indeed, yeah.
A lot of issues as we move forward, Tom, and CitizenLink is concerned about these issues. We are watching what's happening with marriage, with life, with threats to religious liberty. Tom, as we look at the opportunities that lie ahead in 2012, we need to hear from people who support our work. We need to know that they're there. What do you want them to know about what we're going to be doing?
Oh, we do a lot. We have big plans. We received an email from one of our CitizenLink daily email subscribers the other day who said, how come you need several $1 million for your budget? All you do is send us emails. And that brought us up short, because if all you get is our daily news update, you might think all we do is send people emails. But we were participating very strongly in key races in 2010 to identify pro-family voters and to bring them in contact with politicians who supported their family values, and so people could vote intelligently. And we did that in very significant races in 4 or 5 states in particular, and we saw great gains for that. And we have plans to expand that tremendously in 2012. So we are doing a lot to let people know who are the politicians, both at the presidential level and all the way down the ballot, that ought to be supported because they support family values. So a lot's going on.
and it will be a critical election in 2012, so we want to urge people to stay in touch with us here at CitizenLink so we can provide you the information so you can be an informed and educated voter. So thanks, Tom. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for those of you who have communicated with us with your encouragement, with your words of continuing what we're doing here at CitizenLink. And we would encourage you to go and write to us at the email. Our email address is mail@citizenlink.com. That's mail@citizenlink.com. Thanks for joining us, and remember to stand tall and be heard.